Hi, Jason.
Hey, how are you? So nice to meet you. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been so anxious to see what's going on with my brain, and hopefully it's working and it's healthy.
Well, we'll make it better.
Let's go. Let's figure it out, man.
So our goal is to make brain health cool. I hate the term mental illness because it shames people. Call somebody mental, it's not a good thing.
Right.
And they're not mental illnesses, they're brain health issues.
Fair enough.
Get your brain right, your mind tends to act so much better. But I want to know your goal, and then I want to hear your story.
Yeah, I'll give you the synopsis of this. So my goal is, after struggling severely with substance abuse and not mental health issues, but brain issues as I grew up, I wanted to kind of see, now that I'm in sobriety, after all these years, after going through so many different trials and tribulations and a lot of damage, I believe, I want to see where my brain's at and see how much further I can take it. That's really the goal. I've done a lot of work over the years on myself to try to get to where I'm at today from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual standpoint. And I can look back, and I'll kind of just give you a little bit of history and context to my story. I'm sober now, coming up almost on 3 years again, but I originally got sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I originally got sober July 23rd, 2010. But that was not an easy feat. I went through a very public battle with addiction from the age of 18 to 23 years old. That all started when I was on a show called Laguna Beach, and then it transitioned into the hills, and then my career later landed me in celebrity rehab, so you can kind of see the ebbs and flows of where that went. But looking back, and again, as I think you understand addiction, you understand the underlying issues with brain disorders and different things, I can actually look back now after all these years and getting to know myself very, very well. I can see that I struggled with substance abuse and or mental health / brain disorders or issues when I was 12 or 13 years old, ever before I picked up a drink or a drug. And that was, at 12, 13, I struggled severely with OCD. I don't know what really transitioned or what transpired at that age. I don't know if it was puberty and something in an environmental event that happened.
So before then, no problems that you remember?
No, not that I recall.
Have you ever heard of PANDA syndrome?
Mm-mm.
Stands for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorders Associated with Strep. That you know why you have to get strep throat treated, because if you don't, it can cause rheumatic heart disease.
Correct.
Well, early 90s, Sue Sweeto at NIMH found out that strep in children could attack their basal ganglia, and all of a sudden, normal children have OCD.
What?
It could be an infectious disease.
Wow.
So if you've done all the therapy and no one has, there's not trauma, you weren't sexually abused or physically abused, and your parents mostly liked each other.
Yeah.
It's something to investigate.
That's why I wanted to come here, is because I feel like I'm in a place that I want to continue to grow and get to know myself better, because there were so many years of damage and self-medicating and trying to escape that overinflated ego with that underestimated sense of self-worth.
What was this suicide attempt about?
Being at a place where drugs and alcohol had taken me, and again, is my primary DOC is alcohol, and then give me anything that makes me run around quicker, like the Energizer Bunny, I'll take it. Cocaine was also a thing that I loved, but I would definitely say my primary drug of choice was alcohol. It took me to such a deep, dark place that I was honestly not functioning anymore.
And what was the benefit for alcohol?
It took away a lot of the OCD symptoms, the anxiety, which is, it's funny because it would take away the depression for the time, even though it's a depressant. But it'd also make me feel, it would take away social anxiety. It was like almost made you feel like, I mean, when you're under the influence at that age, when you had low self-esteem and insecurities, it made you feel like a superhero. It takes away all that pain.
And the low self-esteem came from?
I don't know initially where it came from. I feel
Because it sounds like you were competent as a child, that you were good at sports, and so I just wonder where that came from.
Don't know.
Was it there before the OCD was there?
No. I always,
so if I asked your mom, she would go, he was a happy kid, and then all of a sudden, or like over a summer, he's not happy. See, I think we should investigate this infectious disease idea that I have.
I totally agree.
If you go online and look up PANDA syndrome, you'll be blown.
I mean, I'm already shocked because literally as you're saying that, I have total clarity of me as a child. My mom was probably like, dude, this kid was like way too overconfident with everything. And then it literally shifted when I was, 11, 12, 13 years old.
And a big missing piece to mental health stuff is infectious disease. It's massive. And it's like, I'm a psychiatrist. I didn't get any training in it, but I would look at brains and I'm like, why does your brain look like this?
What would be the next step? What would I do next to see or to find out if I had pain?
I'm gonna order some blood work on you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm suspicious.
Wow.
So.
I mean, it gives me, there's a lot of clarity there. I mean, seems like it could make sense.
What if one of the reasons you suffered was not just that you were an addict, that there was an underlying. See, addiction says what it is.
Correct.
It doesn't say why it is.
Correct.
Like depression, it's like, well, that's what it is. But it doesn't say why it is.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think depression shouldn't even be a diagnosis. Like chest pain's not a diagnosis, or fever's not a diagnosis, right? It's what it is. It's a symptom, or symptom cluster. But there are all sorts of different roads to chest pain. And there's all sorts of different roads to fever. And there's all sorts of different roads to depression and addiction. And so giving everybody the same 12-step program, it's sort of stupid.
I agree.
And I'm like a fan. So many people I know have gotten benefit from them, but I actually think they start in the wrong place. So it starts with step one, my life is out of control. I think step one is, what do you want? Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health, what do you want? And then step two becomes really easy. Is your behavior getting you what you want? And obviously your behavior was not getting you what you want. And then step three, it's got to get your brain right. You got to evaluate it and optimize. Because once you see your brain, which we'll see in a minute, you'll fall in love with it. You're like, this is my brain. It runs everything.
Isn't it amazing how we'll take care of everything else around us but ourselves?
Well, we won't take care of our brain.
Well, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We grew up in Orange County where there are more plastic surgeons than almost anywhere. And I always say we care more about our faces, our boobs, our bellies, and our butts than we do our brain. That's sort of insane.
100% couldn't agree more.
Given it runs everything.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's look at your brain. So SPEC, that's the study we did, looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. And you have a lot of good brain activity. For how bad you've been to your brain.
Hot dog, brother. Let's go.
I would say this is a miracle. Now it's bumpy. You see the bumpiness?
Yeah, talk to me about that.
It's not supposed to be bumpy. You are lucky for it. So if we look at healthy, so this is what we want it to be. full, even, symmetrical, smooth. See how smooth it is?
Yes.
That's healthy. Yours is a bit bumpy. And it's going to get better over time the longer you love your brain and you don't poison it. So whenever you go to do something, I just want you to ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? And if you can answer that with information and love, right? Love of yourself, love of your wife, love of your children. You have 2 kids?
2 children.
How old are they now?
I got almost a 5-year-old daughter and a 11-month-old son.
Yeah. Is this good for your brain or bad for it? And every day you are modeling health or you are modeling illness. And they need to know they're vulnerable. Not now.
Yeah.
But when they're 10, it's like, we have addiction in our family. And it almost killed me. I love you. If you never use, you're never going to have a problem. If you use, you might have a serious problem.
Right. What would cause the bumpiness in the brain?
The toxic exposure, but also maybe infection.
Okay.
So we got to look for it.
Okay.
I'm not going to be surprised if I find it. Because, I mean, it's like, why are you washing your hands until they bleed?
Yeah.
So here is your
that's
active
me.
skin.
That's me.
This is your active skin.
There's a lot of blue. There's a lot of nothing going on in there, huh?
No, there's a lot of red.
Wow.
And you have the diamond. When I see this, I think of past emotional trauma. And even though you weren't robbed, raped, or in a fire, the shame is emotional traumatic. You were traumatized so much. I think the suicide was, I can't overcome this.
For sure.
But you can.
Yeah.
You know, you were in love with alcohol and it just beat the shit out of you.
Fair enough.
It's like,
Yeah.
right?
I never won that fight.
You know, you really like the Adderall, although I think what happened is it damaged your dopamine and you weren't chasing being high, you were chasing not being depressed.
100%.
Yeah. People don't get that about addiction, that they're not chasing feeling awesome.
I want to
They're
feel normal
chasing
again.
not wanting to die. Yeah.
Wow. Well said.
Okay. Questions?
No, you've answered. I mean, I'm happy to see where my brain is today. I was honestly, I'm not going to lie there. I was a little scared. I didn't know if there was going to be more damage because of what I had done, the amount that I drank, the amount that I used. So it's very encouraging. And like you said, I think having a visual of this is going to really motivate me to continue to want to grow. And also just spread this for other people. I mean, there's so many people that I think can benefit from this, understand where they're at. And it's like almost having your own little avatar here and seeing that. It's really incredible. So really appreciate your feedback and all your knowledge.